Whether it be my story or my guest stories, we all share parts of the human experience. In our own ways, we have all faced triumph and challenges, both joy and pain, both gratitude and grief. My life changed forever on October 11, 2019, the day I had a stroke. It had a ripple effect, not only for me, but also for those I cherish. Through grace, we are here today to pay it forward. It's my mission to focus on what brings us together and help people find their paths through life stories. After graduating from CSU, Wendy's passion for the arts led her to the business of comedy. Starting as a waitress, she worked her way up and is now the owner and operator of the 2 Denver Comedy Works. I always say that everybody has a story, and Wendy, you have a great story, so welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, you're a Colorado girl.
Yeah, for the most part.
For the most part?
I moved here as a child when I was 11 from Western Kansas. Thank God they got me out of small town.
Wow.
Western Kansas.
Okay, and you went to school where?
At Colorado State in Fort Collins.
And you went first to school to be what?
I started out in business, and I really thought it was a bunch of crap. And I changed my major and ended up studying acting, directing, classical voice, and a little bit of business, a little bit more business, but mostly the arts.
Okay, so then you graduate, and what happens?
Prior to graduation, the Comedy Works that had been in Denver for 5 years came to Fort Collins. And I was like, well, that's perfect, the business of show business. And I got a job as a waitress when I had about 9 months left to go of school. And I fell in love with that business. I fell in love with it.
What part of it?
Just the energy and the entire vibe of it. You know, I learned many years later that I was very ADHD. And I understand now that I was very attracted all my life to all of those things that were just with so much going on all the time, chaos, you know, and I loved it. I didn't know why, of course, I didn't know that was kind of connected, but I see it so clearly now. But I just loved it. I loved every inch of it. And it was back then, it was very much a kind of a bar business and a lot of men in the business running clubs, owning clubs, cocaine, poker, girls.
Poker?
Late night. Was kind of what a lot of clubs and managers and owners did at the time. And none of that was my thing. Not girls or poker or cocaine or, you know, cigars. None of that was my thing. And I worked and worked and worked. And I learned every inch of that business. There wasn't anything I couldn't do. And I learned it very quickly.
Okay. Who was your favorite artist that came in Fort Collins?
Back then. So many. But Bill Hicks came. Bill Hicks has since passed. He passed quite a while ago, but he was quite revolutionary in our business. Because it was controversial and we got crazy letters about how, you know, what a demon he was, etc. Please. But Bill Hicks, I think, might be one of my most memorable and favorite.
Okay. 9 months in, then what happens?
I graduated, and that was in August of '87, I think. I'd already been working for Comedy Works for those 9 months, and then within a few months, I did a show. I did an AIDS benefit here in town, and I did a couple of industrial films. And then I I became the general manager of the club in Fort Collins, and a month later I started booking both Fort Collins and downtown Denver. And I did that for a couple of years. I knew I could change some things, and I didn't know until I got in there how much I could change things, but I changed receipts like by 30% like immediately. And
Wow.
So I knew there were things being left on the table. I didn't quite know how much. Anyway, so I ran that for a long time. And all of these things happening, we were a public company. Almost right after I started. A pink sheet, then a public company, and then we became a NASDAQ company. And then honestly, one kind of greedy CEO to the next. They granted themselves so much S8 stock that they couldn't pay the payroll taxes on it.
Wow.
It was hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars in one quarter, and they had to sell their assets. Guess what their assets were? The downtown club was left. They'd sold Fort Collins at that point, etc. And so there I was. And I bought it with one of the original owners of Comedy Works and our then CFO. And then a year later, I bought him out.
Good for you.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of elements. The business, the comedians, the public. What part do you like, don't like?
I think the only thing that I don't like about like the people are drunk, stupid people and like late shows. Nobody likes those. The Friday late show is the one that if anything's gonna come busting loose, that's it. Everybody's been up since 6, they haven't had enough food in their tummy, and they've been drinking since 4:30. So that's part of the business we all laugh about. But I love the people. I love the comics.
Did you want to be a comic?
Never wanted to be a comic.
Really?
No. I wanted to be an actress, a stage actress.
No time like the present.
Yeah, well. And I wanted to study in New York, but way back then, I had a very, very wicked eating disorder and was bulimic and anorexic and a little bit, and really at the heart of who I was a compulsive overeater. And I ballooned to 285 pounds at my top.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's another long story.
Tell me that story.
Well, I was battling my weight, as a teenager, just always battled my weight. And it was my sophomore year of college. I was 19 years old, and it was very late in the semester. It was December, and there was he was an opera singer from New York. He came and he spoke to us, like all the voice students. Once a week we would meet on Wednesdays, and there would either be a recital or somebody would be there to speak or whatever. And he talked about these women that were throwing up, these singers that were throwing up, and that they were burning their esophagus, and they were ruining their instrument. And again, there was another moment when I went, oh my God, I had no idea that anybody else did that. I had no idea. And almost immediately, I stopped throwing up, almost cold turkey.
I admired you to be able to talk about that, because that takes courage.
It just made me much more human. And I hadn't achieved quite the success that I had yet either, that I have now, whatever we call that, success, right? How much debt do you have? Okay, I win! But it just made it, it's just easier to talk about that stuff than to hide.
Yeah.
And it makes other people, when I think about what I went through and how I dealt with it and how closeted I was for so long about some of those issues, I really go, I don't want anybody to be like that.
Yes.
I don't want anybody to feel like they're the only one, like they're that nobody knows their pain and that they can't get help.
I have found from my accident, if I said to you I had a stroke and I will talk funny, the vulnerability breeds vulnerability.
It sure does.
Yeah.
It does. And I think it lets everybody's guard gets let down. Instead of puffing ourselves up with ego and I'm so perfect and I'm so
I am.
Yeah, me too. I think that it just allows people to be real.
Okay, so let's switch gears. What's the power of a laugh?
It's contagious, I think, but it's also just I think it lights us up. Mm-hmm. And I think I forget the power of that laughter and the fringe benefits that I have had my entire career. And I get caught up in my crap, and there's a lot of crap, and I forget, and then you stand on the side and you watch, and then you watch the audience and you watch them sometimes literally bend over in laughter with some people, and you watch what it does for them.
Mm-hmm.
And
what does it do for the audience?
I think it invigorates all of us. Mm-hmm. And for people like me, and I think there's a couple more people out there like me that are just wound way too tight, I think it helps us loosen up,
What's your true calling, Wendy?
Oh, epoxy. Just gonna pour epoxy floors and countertops and.
Good answer.
I mean, it's been hard, mm-hmm. and I bitch and moan and groan every day about how hard it is, and then
and then you do it.
Then I do it, and then something comes up. Like last week, I was leaving the office late. I don't like to in the winter. I don't like to leave late. It's dark. It's really dark. It's not the greatest neighborhood, and there was a woman at the end of the alley with her cart, and she had some fire. She was creating some fire, and I stopped and rolled down my window and talked to her, and then got out of my car and talked to her, and smart. She was so smart. Her name was Liz, 30 years old, chooses to live like this, had been in an abusive relationship, I think as a child, and then I think she got married or something, and there was abuse there, and this is what she chooses to do. And she said, do you have any mittens? I said, can I do anything for you? She said, do you have any mittens? And I didn't. But I went back to the office and got some more blankets and, protein bars and shakes and things that I had in my fridge. And, there's just those things that, for me, God is, just goes, really? You think you've got it bad? Mm-hmm. And I went home to my, gazillion-dollar home.
Mm-hmm. Why did she think you stopped?
Why did she think I stopped?
Mm-hmm. And why do you think you stopped?
Well, I stop to that a lot. Mm. I feed the people in the park across the street. Mm-hmm. I don't care what my neighbors think. Because they don't have a home. Mm-hmm. And I live in a beautiful home. And they don't have a bed. And there's just some things that I just can't stomach. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to reconcile that for me at the end of the day. I don't know how you don't stop. I don't know how you don't give them a little bit of what you got.
But each, like this girl, she will always remember you. right?
She left me a note.
What did it say?
She thanked me, and I said to her that night, I said, look, if you need something, that is my building, it's my business. You come in, and the back door isn't ever open. Ring the doorbell, but the front door is open, and I've got bathrooms and showers and towels, and you can rest. You can get something to eat. I mean, please just come whenever you need something. And she left me a note. There's a little sign that they put there because I had to park my Tesla there. My Tesla.
Yeah.
She put a note on the sign because that Tesla has to sit there so that it could charge. And she thanked me and said, and I said, if you ever need a job, I can find something for you to do. I'll pay you under the table or legitimately however you want it. Mm-hmm. And she said that she would take me up on that. So she referenced that and thanked me for my kindness, and she hoped to see me again soon.
Have you seen her since?
I haven't, and I look for her.
Mm-hmm. I always say, but for the grace of God go I.
Yeah.
But the reason I'm doing this is if I can affect one person. You did it for that woman. You helped me referring a doctor, right? I have so much admiration for you that you stand up and you're fighting all sorts of things, and you smile and you can laugh. Okay.
I can also
fake it till you make it.
Exactly,
honey.
exactly. I mean, and I think that in the end, I think we are all resilient. Mm-hmm. I think I have been much more resilient previously than I've been this time. But I think we as humans are resilient, and we will come back.
I'm going to suggest to you, right? Before I had my stroke, I was going. Mm-hmm. I had the stroke, and I had felt. And I think that your experience with that lady, the 30-year-old, you want to feel.
I mean, I think that you're right. I'm not sure that I could live in an atmosphere where I had to feel that every day. Mm-hmm. Like in a shelter for puppies.
No, I'm not asking.
But no, those things where, because it just tugs at my heartstrings. So what do? You
There has to be a combination of the laugh and the feel and want to help.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, what is gonna be your legacy?
I hope that the legacy is, that my clubs continue to live, and that they, I'm remembered for trying to do the right thing. Mm-hmm. I don't want to be just the woman that did it. That's something that comes up a lot. That I did it in a man's world kind of a thing, and I didn't know any different. I just did it, mm-hmm. And I just want to be known, that I tried to do the right thing and build a great brand based on the right principles,
And smiled.
Yeah.
And brought other people's smiles.
And belly laugh. Belly laughs too.
Sorry, no belly laugh here. Thank you for joining me on The Power of the Voice. Do you have a story to share? I'd love to hear from you. Please visit LoriCorken.com. There you will find more stories like the one you heard today with our series, The Power of a Voice.